Hello there and welcome to my review for Dwarven Realms. In this video I'm going to give you a summary of what this game is all about, my thoughts of what is good about it, what's bad about it, and my personal summary. So let's get right into it and get an answer to the question whether this is a good game or not. So first of all, well, what do we have in front of us? We have here a mashup between an ARPG and a horde survival game. The ARPG components you see here, you have an inventory system, attribute system, you have here a lot of loot, craftable resources, you have a passive skill board. It's a classless system, by the way. What you are using determines your skills, so the gear that you use accumulates practical skill levels, and then you can select between two skills, one for each slot, Q and R, and as you can see here, each weaponry has different things that you're unlocking, passive abilities that you go for once you do unlock these. You have a base that is going to be upgraded the further you proceed down the story. The story is a little bit of a stretch to say. The story consists out of clearing out all these levels and gaining progression down the road. Your fortress has different workstations where you can upgrade your items, your stats, many other things. So that's the first part of the game. The other part of the game is the actual action. So when you go into a level, you enter an arena where a endless amount of enemies spawn. Your goal here is to destroy all the props here. Seriously, you gain a lot of crafting materials out of that. You should loot everything that lies around and kill everything that is coming along. You will gain for this so-called time essence. Time essence can then be used to either claim loot from the battlefield, much like in games like Risk of Rain, or with 100 pieces of time essence, we are allowed to meet the boss of the level, and once we've beaten that person, we are allowed to proceed into the next level, or just grind it again until we grow tired of it. So this is, in all honesty, the basic game loop there. There's a couple of levels where you have tougher enemies, but what's left to say is that there is also a solo and a group-based content system, so you can decide for yourself if you want to play alone or not. If you have some friends to bring along, it's sure a lot more fun. And yeah, there is also a seasonal system. So the character that I'm currently playing will be the lead once season 1 ends. You're not forced to play in the seasons though. You can play off grid of those seasons and just keep your character forevermore. So, what's good about this game? It is fun. Seriously, the basic combat loop here is quite cathartic, and I personally enjoy slaughtering those monsters mindlessly. The weapons are fun to use, and the progression ain't bad at all. I really enjoyed this moment from the first moment on, this game from the first moment on, because yeah, I'm a simple-minded guy. Sometimes I like to unwind with very simple things, and this is where this game really presents a pretty good footage. You need to dodge boss enemy attacks still. This is by no means totally brain dead, but it is relatively easy. If you are used to challenging games, by all means, you will find this extremely easy going. There's a lot of different weapons, like I said, that you can use that come with different actives. This is a pretty cool part. As you can see, there's really quite a lot of things to unlock. And there's a lot of subsystems that you can optimize your character on. You have not only your gear, you have passive skills that come via 3 slots. You can then select either to put the same passive skill into each of these slots and get a stronger synergy in form of higher cooldowns and damage, or you have you choose to have 2 or 3 different skills here. They go into 3 different branches: lightning, fire, and arcane. And with that, you have already something to tweak around. You also have the fossil of the Dwarven demigods, which you can socket gems into that you are finding, which give you permanent bonuses as well. So if you ever get stuck, you can also grind your way up to the top. There is the passive skill board. There's your skill, your stat point system. So there's really a lot of cool little mechanics that you can tweak your performance on. So I really enjoyed that one as well. There is also constant incremental progress, which means every level that you do gives you something in return, and be it only a few minuscule percentile points in form of gems and such. There's always something you gain out of that, or experience levels in your character. It's something I really like because with grindy games, you really need to feel your progression at some point, otherwise it grows boring quite fast. The looting system also I enjoyed, because you get to select either to use your time essence for practical uses, loot and the like, or for progression to get faster through the level. So you have always the option to go either as fast as possible, or safe and secure, and just grind it all out. It's all up to you. Game all in itself is a very, very relaxing experience. It is by all means some game to unwind. It's not Dark Souls that will put you on your toes on constantly. Although I gotta say, the boss levels are quite different from your standard experience, and the bosses that you're fighting are behaving a little bit different from the standard boss that you will be encountering. And as you can see here, the level design is somewhat creative. The assets are a little bit oldish, but, well, they do something with that. Now, what's bad about the game? Some parts of the game just feel outright bland. Give you an example here. The passive skill board, it looks like a lot, but when you look at it in detail, 3-person max health, this entire wheel here. Center of this, also not so much of a big deal. All of these little nodes are quite uninspired, in all honesty, and give you only minuscule amounts of bonuses that, by all means, are not meaningless. No, I would be wrong to say as well, but they're quite bland. And this is true for some portions of the game, where you get the impression that there's a lot of stuff to discover, when in reality you are pretty quickly through with the impression what you're up to. Also, the levels are very, very repetitive altogether. And, well, there are a couple of levels, like, yeah, this boss arena was not a good example for that. There's also quite atrocious boss level design. Somewhere down here was a boss that had as a challenge to shove you out of the arena and just outright one-shot you. I didn't find that quite entertaining. I didn't like that too much. Yeah, that's just something I really didn't like. Also, the amount of salvage resources here is atrocious. It's just too much. This is, you get confronted with so many materials that don't really play much of a role. This could be reduced by all means and still be quite easy to I don't know, it doesn't really gain much from the thousands of different materials, in my humble opinion at least. And the item crafting also feels a tad bit convoluted at ends. There are some stats on the items that just feel horrible to have. Spark damage plus 9%. Here those major increases, they're all okay, but here ferocity of wolves damage. Alright, okay, it is cool to have a bonus on these passive skills, because these lines that I've read aloud here are all from these passives, but it is very, very specific, and they convolute the drop table of bonuses massively, which means, in other words, it makes it pretty hard to get an item that you really want with stats that are all over the board good for you. I think this is not necessary. Also, there is, well, I don't know. I didn't enjoy crafting items in this game so far, because I have a hard time keeping track of whether I am wasting materials or if I have enough of a material, because, like I said before, there's just so many different teeny tiny resource bloblets that I have a very, very hard time keeping track of that stuff. Now, yeah, I don't have much more bad things to say. That's really pretty much all of it. The last thing before I go into my summary, I must say, This game is much of a hit or miss, I think, for most people. Either you like what is presented here and enjoy it, or you find it too bland and boring and you're skipping out of the grind there. For myself, I'm an idle game and incremental game player, and I like what I see here. Now, off to the summary. It's an easy, grindy, Horde Slayer fun game. I really like it because you can just unwind and grow more powerful and do your thing. You can also go hardcore into number tweaking if you want to, and I really like that. The genre mashup is well done. I was very surprised at the very first glance when I realized that this game is seriously just mashing up the Horde Survivor genre and ARPGs. I realized how close these were together in the first place. The RPG mechanics are pretty cool. Even if I have criticized a couple of bland mechanics here, it is still pretty good insofar as it feels like a mega souped up mobile game without any microtransactions or hidden downsides. And that's a pretty cool thing. What I personally would really like to see would be less bland mechanics on stuff like the passive field or like the gear. I already talked enough about that. But since this is Season 1, I do have to say there is a good foundation that the developers can just take what they got here and improve on it. I am somebody, I've been around this genre since Diablo 1. I've been around Path of Exile's beta, open beta, and all those things, and I gotta say, Path of Exile was also quite crappy when it came out on many, many ends, and was nowhere near as close to the grand game that it is now. I see a lot of potential on Dwarven Realms, and what I really hope to see for the future is more diversity in the enemy branch and in the objectives that you're doing. I really like these levels, don't get me wrong, but I would really love if there would be more than just grindy arenas with enemies and grindy arenas with bosses. I think I missed out the dungeons that you need keys for, obviously, but beyond that, well, the game grows very repetitive very quickly. But yeah, I really think if you compare the price towards what you get, and if you don't have your expectations too high, Dwarven Realms is a pretty cool game. The only downside is there's no dwarves. Seriously. So, thanks for watching, y'all. I hope this helped you out in making a decision if you want to play this game. In the meantime, I'm going to find out how to beat this boss, and I hope you will leave a like or a subscribe. Feel free to support Icon Gaming financially, and also, I'd really, really love to have you guys again somewhere there. Thanks if you're supporting the channel. Thanks for your time. Hope you have a good time with my videos and with gaming in general. See you there. Bye-bye.